how exactly did Epstein operate as an intelligence asset for the CIA, Mossad, MI6, SBU, all of them, quite honestly? How does this work exactly? Well, if you listen to the Zionist-controlled media, they are now bending over backwards to paint Epstein as a Russian intelligence asset, ignoring all of the other connections. Here is Barry Weiss's CBS News. Watch.
Poland says it's looking into possible connections between convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Russian intelligence services. The announcement came after the U.S. Justice Department last week released millions more files related to the federal investigation into Epstein. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Tuesday, quote, more and more leads, more and more information, and more commentary in the global press all relate to the suspicion that this unprecedented pedophilia scandal was co-organized by Russian intelligence services.
Okay.
About any links between...
By the way, I love how CBS News, you don't even know that the leader is named Tusk, but okay, Tusk. Anyway, how does all this come together? John Kiriakou is a CIA whistleblower. Of course, the Obama administration went after him big time, and as he was trying to expose everything that the Obama administration was doing. John, welcome back to the show. Great to see you as always.
Thank you. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we have a lot to talk about here. And I know Natalie wants to unpack specifically like the KGB side of this in a second, but I want to first kind of start off and understand like the mechanics, if you could, maybe helping us understand how exactly would, because people are saying, oh, he's Mossad or he's CIA. And I think you have said to us in the past that he's probably just an asset associated or in alignment with them. How exactly does that work? How exactly did it work for him, do you believe?
Well, I'm proud to say I've been consistent that from the beginning I said that I thought he was what was called an access agent, most likely for the Mossad. An access agent is somebody who can give you access to people that you're really interested in. It's not necessarily going to be Jeffrey Epstein that has access to classified information, but Peter Mandelson certainly does, and Bill Clinton does, and the former Prince Andrew certainly did, and maybe you get some business information, business secrets or economic secrets from the likes of Bill Gates. So I think that Jeffrey Epstein was probably recruited by the Israelis to provide access to the targets that the Israelis were really interested in. But with that said, an access agent is somebody who also can still be a free agent. And so if the FBI has a question, and maybe you can establish a quid pro quo with the FBI. Maybe you answer the FBI's question, or the CIA, or the MI6, or MI5, or the French, or whomever, because you want to bank those favors and maybe have some goodwill down the line in case you get jammed up. He got jammed up, and he didn't have anybody to help him.
Can I just follow up on that real quick, which is one of the big questions that Congressman Thomas Massie wanted. He told me earlier in the week, he said that among the missing things that they demanded as part of the Epstein Transparency Act was the name of the person or persons who were responsible for giving him such a lenient sentence in 2007,
Exactly
2008.
Right.
Would that be intelligence related, do you believe?
I think it's 100% intelligence related. Alex Acosta has said, Alex Acosta, the former Secretary of Labor, who at the time was the U.S. attorney who prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein, said that the order to give Epstein a sweetheart sentence came from the top. And when asked why, all he said was intelligence. So make of that what you will. But then you have to think, who has authority over a U.S. attorney? Well, frankly, the only person who has authority, direct authority over a U.S. attorney is the Attorney General. At the time, that was Alberto Gonzales. Alberto Gonzales, God bless him, was a lightweight. It wasn't up to Alberto Gonzales. So who was above Alberto Gonzales? It was the president and the vice president. So what do we make of that? Was it George W. Bush that ordered this? If so, why? Was it Dick Cheney? If so, why? But I think we have a right to know.
What if that sore throat or fever that hits you overnight didn't actually have to cancel your family trip or miss work or waste hours at an urgent care? Instead, you could actually just open your medical emergency kit from the wellness company, match your symptoms to the doctor-recommended guide, and then start treatment immediately, right in your house. This is not a first aid kit. It's a mini urgent care right at your fingertips. Inside, you're going to find 8 core prescriptions to treat over 30 conditions like COVID, strep throat, pneumonia, urinary tract infections, and more. No more waiting rooms, no more pharmacy lines. Modernized medicine right when you need it. We have one right upstairs in our own medicine cabinet. And ordering it is simple. At checkout, simply complete a short intake form, and a licensed doctor will review, fill your scripts, and preventative peace of mind arrives at your home in 1 week. No one wants to be sick during the holidays or any other time, so be prepared. Save yourself time and money. The Medical Emergency Kit puts urgent care in your hands anytime you need it. So go to twc.health/redacted right now and use that code redacted to save a nice discount and free shipping. Again, twc.health/redacted.
What do you make of this media narrative that, definitely he's KGB? I mean, set aside the fact that the KGB has been dissolved since the 90s and Epstein was doing most of his work in the 2000s. The way Daryl Cooper explained it on Tucker Carlson, I thought was great because he could move between governments. If Mossad,
That's right.
Wanted an introduction to somebody in the KGB, then you have these shadow actors that can act as a liaison. That's what Robert Maxwell, in fact, did.
That's right.
So can you extrapolate on that role, and are there people still doing it?
Oh, I think that is exactly correct. I think that he really has nailed it. The Israelis, I'm going to get threats from the Israelis again. Every time I say something like this, I get threats, but I'm going to say it again anyway. The Israelis are free agents. The Israelis are not necessarily our friends. They are when it suits them. But when it suits them to be friendly with the Russians, they go with the Russians, or with the Chinese or the Germans or, anybody. It doesn't make any difference. The Israelis do what's best for the Israelis. And if that means using a source like Jeffrey Epstein and passing information on to a hostile intelligence service, or at least one that's hostile to the United States, that's exactly what they're going to do. I got into a spirited debate with Alan Dershowitz about this on the Piers Morgan show a few weeks ago, and I thought the man was going to have a stroke when I said that Jeffrey Epstein was most likely working on behalf of the Israelis. And then he said something that was completely backward. He said that he had been Epstein's attorney, and if Epstein had been working for the Israelis, he would have told Dershowitz, and Dershowitz would have used that information to get Epstein an even lighter sentence. And I said, wait a minute, Professor, if you're saying that you would have gone to the White House to say, my client is committing espionage for the Israeli government, you think that would have gotten him a lighter sentence? I think he would have been hanging from a tree.
Right, it would have been treason.
Moved on from there.
Yeah, he would have been put in prison for the rest of his life or put to death.
Exactly.
Well, that's how it's supposed to work. We're seeing that it doesn't. Right now, you can meet with former Israeli or former U.S. traders, and that's fine.
Jonathan Pollard. Well, Jonathan Pollard he did every day of his 30 years. Of course, he's a hero in Israel now, and he's running for the Knesset. But he did every single day of his 30 years.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Yeah. Now he gets to hang out with Ambassador Mike Huckabee, who's apparently friends with him. So that's how it works.
The VIP treatment in the American Embassy.
Unbelievable. So the mechanics of this, I'm just still trying to wrap my head around. Like, Jeffrey Epstein's just like sitting there in his sex lair or whatever, and he just like gets some like a phone call. He gets like a pager. Come meet me in the park. We want you to do this. Shake this hand because the other hand is shaking it back. Like, what does that look like for somebody like Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, if Jeffrey Epstein were treated as a normal source, then the answer is yes. You get a phone call saying, "Hey, how's your mom doing?" And the answer is, "My mom is feeling much better, thank you." And that means meet me at the parking lot of the yacht club at 2:00 in the morning. You have this all set up in advance, and then he goes and does his meeting and gets his marching orders.
And so there wouldn't be an email trail here, right, John? I guess that's.
Oh no! There would never be an email trail. This is all done verbally or just using signals. You remember during Watergate, Deep Throat would react to Bob Woodward putting an American flag in a flower pot on his apartment balcony. That triggered a meeting that night at 9:00 in a parking garage in the Roslyn neighborhood of Arlington, Virginia. So all of this is always set up in advance, so you never have to actually put anything in writing or say, meet me at 8:00.
So, okay, that is covert. It's done by signals, but all the sex stuff, was overt and written out
And it's in writing.
and in writing. So, okay.
Yeah, good point.
Explain that to me, and then can you please, or just take an opinion, because I don't think you're doing that. I don't think you can personally explain it. And then also, I would like to know how you think this international spy espionage relates to this demonic sex predator. Are they related, or is it just that one allowed the other, or did one actually give leverage for the other? Or are they unrelated?
Yeah, no, that's a great question and a very important one. And I think that they were two issues running parallel with one another. I think that the Israelis or whomever was the recruiter of Jeffrey Epstein said, this guy has a major vulnerability, and his vulnerability is that he's a pedophile. We can use that to our advantage. He can get us information. We'll continue to supply him with money. And we'll just turn a blind eye to his pedophilia. So they were able to identify that vulnerability, that hook, in order to hook him and reel him in, and then they just let him do his thing with girls and important world leaders, and just let the cards fall where they fell.
How much of it do you think was a honeypot operation?
You know, I think it probably became a honeypot operation. You know, I'm wondering, you have to figure this was going on for decades. And I'm wondering if any intelligence service, even one as good as the Israelis, was able to see so far in advance that they could turn this into a honeypot. I mean, of course, it's obvious by the late 1990s or the early 2000s, that's exactly what it is, that you can entrap as many of these movers and shakers as you possibly want to. Look at Peter Mandelson. You know, I've been thinking about this all day today. Peter Mandelson, the former British ambassador to the United States, the member until earlier this week of the House of Lords, he's in so deep now, after lying and lying and lying, that he barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. He's in so deep that this risks collapsing the British government. There were calls by members of the Labour Party today for the Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer to resign because he had been so easily duped by Peter Mandelson. So the stakes are very, very high here. This is really serious.
Giving him state secrets. Funneling state secrets to Jeffrey Epstein. That's treasonous. Secrets. I don't know how he avoids prison at this point. I mean,
and the laws, the State Secrecy Act law in the UK is far, far tougher than the Espionage Act is here in the United States.
Wow.
Peter Mandelson could find himself spending the rest of his natural life in prison.
Oh my gosh.
I guess, John, we'll get you out of here on that. I'm just curious, from your perspective, having worked at the CIA, blowing the whistle at the CIA, when you're seeing all these documents and you're a guest on our show and we're specifically talking about the intelligence side, is there something you think that, like, people are missing, that people haven't looked at more closely, something that's been, like, keeping you up at night or wringing your hands that you think people need to pay attention to?
You know, one of the things that bothers me very much is that the more important people become in their lives, the more we as a society are willing to cut them slack. And we shouldn't do that. People are people, and people are sexual beings. God knows what's in their hearts. God knows what they do behind closed doors. And so nobody should be given the benefit of the doubt in crimes where children are the victims.
Right. I just got upset because Roger Stone was on the show and he said, absolutely, Trump didn't do anything. And I said, well, these documents, are not favorable. Did somebody look into them? Because I don't have any kind of preconceived notion whether Trump is innocent or guilty. I would like to see proof. I would like to see them be transparent with us. And now that we have more allegations, a valid question is, anybody follow up on that? Is there anything there? Anybody?
So far, no.
Right. And so
far, no.
I take your answer to be nobody is above scrutiny, especially because our jobs as the adults of the world is to protect children.
That is it right there.
Right.
I have 5 children of my own, and if this had happened to one of them, I'm not sure I could control myself.
John Wick level. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Wick.
I mean, what about Trump? I mean, There's a lot of going back and forth here on this, right? You have...
Yeah, you know, if I were Donald Trump and I were confident in my innocence, I would just release everything. Just release it. Yeah, release it and put it to bed.
Alex Jones was saying, you know, he was saying, look, the big rub here for Trump is that he waited so long to release it. And that if he releases everything, that he'll be absolved of everything. So if that's the case... then release it all. Why are you continue to insult reporters like Caitlin? I mean, I don't have any love for whatever any of these reporters from CNN, but like just release everything then, so no one has to ask any questions. Like, what is there to hide? If you're so innocent, release everything.
That's exactly right. I just don't understand why it has taken this long, and it's not even done yet.
Right.
No, he's shooting himself in the foot if he's truly, truly, truly innocent.
Well, John, it's so good to talk to you. You run cover for nobody.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we don't do
love
that.
The show. Thanks for having me.
We love you.
Thank you, John.
All
Always
right.
good to. John, tell people where people can find your show.
Oh, thanks. I've got 3, actually. I've got Deep Program every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on both YouTube and Rumble. I have Deep Focus, which drops twice a week on YouTube. And on Apple Podcasts, I have John Kiriaku's Dead Drop, What Makes a Spy Tick.
All right.
Love it.
John, great to see you as always. Thanks so much for taking time today.
My pleasure.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.